Good evening, friends. My name is Tausif Ahmed, and on behalf of Youth for Heritage Foundation, would like to welcome you all to this evening. I know the rain gods have not been very kind, but thanks to all of you who have turned up for this talk. Our speaker today is Dr. Peggy Mohan, and her talk is about languages, how they develop, evolve, and die over a period of time. Dr. Peggy was born in Trinidad, an island in the West Indies, but has made Delhi her home since 1979. She has a PhD in linguist and has done research on the Bhojpuri spoken by the Indian community in Trinidad to study how it evolved and how it ultimately began to disappear. She has written numerous articles on language and education in India and has authored 3 novels, Jahajin and The Youngest Suspect, both of which draw on her work in linguist, and Walk in C Minor, all published by HarperCollins. Her first book, Jahajin, because I've gone through that book, it talks about how a particular community of India traveled all the way to West Indies to work in the sugar farms there, and how that story evolves over a period of time. So it's an interesting insight. So we've arranged for all the 3 books here also. And her second book is, of course, The Youngest Suspect, which talks about the trial in the Godra Kand, which was taken for the students who were charged, and she was assisting the judge as Supreme Judge as a role in linguist. So that's her second book, and of course the third book, which has recently been released, which is called Walk in C Minor. And I would like to invite Peggy on the stage to take this talk forward, and of course see how we go about it.
Good evening. I thought I'd start this whole discussion of language taking a word from my last book, and that is sonata. A sonata is a piece of music which is supposed to take you on a long walk and take you back, often to revisit places that you have been to before, where you see them with new eyes, where you know more, and you're much better able to understand what the whole place is about, the entire experience is about. And in a sonata you will also come back not to the same place, but sometimes you will go to a similar place. And you'll be able to use your conclusions from before to orient you as to where you are and what is happening. It occurred to me as I started with the idea of a sonata that this is very much what this group does. This group goes on walks, and it goes on walks through history. And that if you're walking through a city, you will many times crisscross your old path and find yourself back where you were earlier, except this time you'll know a little more about the place, and your eyes will be a little bit wiser. And you see other places which are completely new to you, but in a strange way familiar. What I wanted to do by saying this is that when we look at language, we're basically seeing a large number of things that are happening in the world simultaneously. Looking at the evolution of languages in India, it's going to be somewhat similar to other things that we see in other parts of the world. Sufficiently so that we can draw conclusions and feel that we can be looking back into history. It gives us ideas of what may have happened here and what may be about to happen, because we are seeing things that just remind us so very much. When I first started out working on language change, I was working in the West Indies on the community that Taufik told you about, the Indians from the Caribbean, who eventually, it's good that he mentioned start, because start is a point that I was not going to get to. We all call ourselves Bhojpuri speakers, but in fact we weren't all that. It's a little bit more fluid than that. We got drawn into being Bhojpuri speakers because that became the community language. Then I started noticing that people were not speaking it quite so well, and I designed a study to understand how a language disappears. Now, at that time the thinking was that people forgot and people changed within their own lifetime. I wanted to see if I could understand what people were doing in Trinidad. I went with the normal tools like any linguist from abroad. Indian villagers completely befuddled me, changed me, and I was not in a position to do my normal research. I was thinking I would ask them, how do you say this, how do you say that? I couldn't do it. They didn't know what I meant. They'd give me a long paraphrase. So I ended up having to just run the tape and let people talk, and then see what I could draw out of that. So I needed to find out how people were speaking. Were they speaking?